one client has paid me $120,000 for just 9 months work. You can see here, literal wires, 30K for the month of August, paid on September, 20K, 11K, 20K, 7K for literally 1 month's work. And this is the same client paying me over and over again for one singular system that I introduced into his business. And the reason why he's paying me so much money is because I'm on track to make him over $1.5 million this year. And I've already made him $1.2 million this year. And I simply take a small percentage of that for myself. And in this video, I'm going to be breaking down for all of you growth operators out there, or anyone interested in how I do this and how I structure this business model, exactly how you can build clients with huge potential for lifetime value, over $100,000 in lifetime value with clients. And as well as this, I'm working with 4 or 5 other clients inside of my agency alongside this one that are paying me, $5, $10, $15,000 a month each just for implementing the systems that I do for them. Now, before working with me, this client of mine, Leo, was making about $30,000 a month. And I helped him make $259,000 in the peak month, in the second month actually of me operating him, which is this invoice that you can see here that I sent to him. And think about it. If you were a coach, an offer owner, would you not be willing to give away 10, 15% of your revenue away if someone can make you, 8 times the amount of money that you're making? And would you not keep working with that person for a very, very long time? You probably would. And that is the beauty of the growth operating model. You can work with a lot of these clients if you structure your team correctly and you have the right systems in place. And so whether you're a growth operator now or whether you're looking to become one, in this video, I'm going to teach you how to maximize your lifetime value with clients. And lifetime value, by the way, is how much one client pays you in the time that you work with them. And I'm going to be going through every single strategy that I have used to, make upwards of $100,000 from each client that I work with. Now, the number one thing I see that cooks lifetime value is a lot of growth operators will do quick build and release launches for clients, and that's it. But the thing is, once you've exhausted the creator's existing audience on a launch, a lot of the time, if their organic isn't insanely good, they won't be able to generate nearly as much or even, much cash at all after that initial launch. And so what happens is then the operator has to drop the client and then go back to outreaching and having to sign new clients. And it's a very vicious cycle, a very dangerous cycle. And it's a hamster wheel that a lot of growth operators are on that repeats itself over and over if they aren't careful. So in terms of maximizing your client LTV, first of all, you have to stop doing this. You have to be able to work with clients long term and not just do cyclical launches, because that just doesn't work. In terms of actually starting off a relationship well, your positioning has to be good. You must, and I say must, be positioned as an authority, because when you're seen as an authority, clients get things done quick because they know speed is important. The client is focused on their coaching businesses and gets their student great results. Like, this is when you are an authority, they will do this because you are telling them to do this. The client will follow your advice and therefore make more money, and you will have a great relationship because your client because you don't feel like an employee, rather you feel like a business partner. And a lot of operators out there nowadays, if you do feel like you're kind of like an employee in your client's business, you should watch my one client help video where I go through kind of how to get out of that cycle where you're only really working with one client and it's not very good. Typically it's because you're not seen as an authority. And when you aren't seen as an authority, clients are typically slow to read content. They're slow to action things that need to get done. They don't want to focus on their coaching. They want to do what they want to do instead of listening to you. They might pay you late, and then they suddenly call you up at midnight about random stuff and text you at 3 a.m. because they see you as an employee. So how do we go about having better authority when signing partner clients as growth operators? Number one thing is actually building your own personal brand. Putting your own content out there every single day is so important when it comes to positioning yourself better in a client relationship, because what it does is, first of all, it gives you more leverage because you have, the client will see, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. He could have other people wanting to work with him. And it comes down to neediness and options, right? This branding content thing, it puts yourself out there. And the way I like to see is that if you were going to date a girl and she was your only option and you came across as super needy, you were texting her all the time, all day, and it's basically the only thing that you did, just as well as I do that relationship wouldn't work out. And it's the exact same in a business relationship. You cannot be this guy here who's trying to cling on to clients and really, really needs clients. So this branding and content will lead into less neediness, and you even seeming like you have more options. You don't need to have more options. You may only have this client and you may be pretty needy for the client, but it's so important to be putting content out there and to not come across as needy, because if not, your authority will be cooked. Third thing is setup fee. Always look to get an upfront setup fee when working with the client, even if you don't have experience, because it's a completely different dynamic when someone has financially committed to work with you. And one way I like to go about doing this, if a client is very, very averse to paying a setup fee, but you do really want to work with them, then you can obviously set up for free and say, okay, normally we charge a $3,000 setup fee, but what we will do for you is that let's say the first 3K payment that comes in from the coaching business that we launch or that I help you scale, that will go 100% to me. So essentially you're getting that setup fee from the first money that you make, and that's a really good way to go about things if a client really doesn't want to pay a setup fee. But typically now inside of our agency, we're not going to be working with clients unless they are paying a setup fee. And then also client results. So client results, and also just genuinely being very, very good at what you do, you're just going to have way more authority. And if you don't have client results, this is something I have for my licensing clients, is they can use all of my results for my clients. And even if you don't have any clients, you don't have the funds to invest in a mentor that can give you that, use borrowed authority from other people in the space who have scaled big offers, or other people in the space who are running big offers, and say, look, I'm going to use their system and I'm going to implement the same thing that they've done for you for a fraction of the price of what it would normally cost. On top of that, in terms of good lifetime value, you need to set the right client expectations from the get-go. If clients are slacking, call them out. And again, have the options to do so, as in call them out by becoming more valuable in the market so that you're less needy. And by becoming more valuable, you're doing content, making sure you're charging setup fees, and you need to have very good client results and be very good at what you do. You shouldn't be getting tied down into one client hell where you're only working with one client as if they're your boss. And that should be an expectation that you set on the sales call from the get-go, or as soon as you onboard the client. I have one of my licensing clients, and we will call this licensing client T. Now, T is working with Nathan Nazareth, who has 965,000 followers. But the way he signed him as a client was through cold outreach and offering a free service, like saying, I'm going to do this completely for free. And that was great because he got his foot through the door. He performed so well, literally barely getting paid for the first month. And now he essentially operates the entirety of the back end of Nathan Nazareth's business. But the problem is that he kind of cooked the relationship from the get-go, from his initial outreach and from his positioning there, because now Nathan sees him as the guy who's always just really trying to get a client and is now working for me. And he's his boss. He's not actually running an agency. So what I'm helping T do is be able to, at least for his future clients, be able to position himself better using this as a case study, because now he's got really good client results. He's going to be posting content. So he's less needy for these next clients, can charge setup fees and all of that business. And I was in the same position too, initially with my first client, where I couldn't really work for other people. I was doing everything myself, and I couldn't even delegate tasks for this main client. But luckily, I was able to generate him amazing results and reframe and kind of rejig the relationship over time, which can happen and is something that I'm helping T do with his client, Nathan Nazareth. Now, the next thing that you need to learn how to do in terms of maximizing getting paid over $100,000 plus for every client that you sign is learning how to run paid traffic on Meta. Unless you have a one in a million unicorn client, organic content is always going to be unreliable. It's just never going to be as consistent as paid traffic, and becoming an excellent marketer with paid traffic is going to have a huge net positive impact in the long term as an operator and in your life in general. Also, you can be paid way more. Like if you can tell a client you're going to scale them from literal zero, like we've done, to upwards of 6 figures a month using paid ads by putting $1 in and getting 4 out, they're going to be able to pay you way, way more. And for example, my clients, Callum and Andres, they came to me needing help with paid and paid traffic and ads. They had 4 or 5 clients within their agency, but some of them didn't have very big audiences. For example, this one, they ended up spending about $2,500 on the ad campaign. And within 24 hours, they've made back, and this is literally yesterday that they sent me this message. I'm yet to check in on them again, but they've made back $8,000 in cash for their client using my entire systems and SOPs and frameworks and one-on-one calls with me to obviously help with the ads. And they have a full calendar of calls for both sales reps today. So they're probably going to end up with 15 to 20K back, literally spending $2,670 on ads. And they're taking a huge percentage of this because they're literally making all their clients so much money from scratch, even though they don't have a huge organic audiences. And this is literally how I'm launching offers from scratch with a face of the brand where I have majority ownership. So instead of being able to serve people only with organic audiences, I can make money with practically anyone who has a skill. For example, my client Phil, who we scaled from 0 to pacing, we're not at 100K cash yet, but we're pacing it with paid ads in literally the first month, 0 to $100,000. It's fucking insane what you can do with paid ads. And the thing is that with my original client, Leo here, we did so much with organic, and now the organic has kind of slowed down. Naturally, it can be up and down with organic, but because we know how to run paid traffic, we are still printing money. And so it's so important to be able to do this. Now, when it comes to ads, I was scared. And the reason in my agency that we didn't run ads for a very long time is because I just didn't know how to. I didn't have the skill set. And like I said, I was a bit scared. Scared to pitch them to clients, and scared because also, you're risking money up front. Also, I was so confused by Ad Manager, but the first thing I wrote here is that clicking the buttons in Ads Manager is the super easy part. I have SOPs for every step now, obviously having done it, but the harder part is messaging, which we'll get into. Another thing to understand with paid ads is that ads and organic content are not dissimilar. An ad creative is literally just words or a video on a screen and someone saying the words. Third thing to understand is that there are people making millions of dollars every single month from paid traffic. So why can't you? It's literally a skill like anything else. A skill like closing is, it's a skill like setting is, it's a skill like client acquisition is. Now, the main thing you need to understand with ads, like I said, is messaging. in terms of what is seen in the ads, what is heard in the ads, what is read in the ads or in the headline of the landing page, and what is perceived by all of the above. For example, if you have a lime green flashy Lamborghini in your ads and that's the main focus of the ad, naturally through that messaging, Facebook is going to show that ad to people who are more likely to click on it. And who is likely to click on these lime green Lamborghinis? Mostly broke people. And for example, if you're saying in your ad, oh, this is how you can make $10,000 from nothing in 4 weeks, rather than saying I can help you scale a profitable business using XYZ strategy that's worked for X amount of other people, the type of person that is going to click on this ad through the messaging, remember what is said in the ad and what is seen in the ad, how to make 10K from nothing in 4 weeks is someone who's going to want very quick money within 4 weeks, make $10,000, and is going to be starting with nothing. Whereas this messaging is using business terminology, XYZ strategy, a profitable business, scale, like this sort of language is going to call to more of an affluent demographic, a more serious demographic. So that's something that you have to really bear in mind with us, with ad messaging. And I'm going to be recording full breakdowns of how I scaled my client fill from 0 to 100K a month and the type of messaging that we used. Especially if you're a content creator, by the way, if you're working with a creator that's already doing well organically, putting ads into place is way easier than scaling from scratch because Meta already has a decent organic, audience to retarget. But if you never learn, and if you're the type of operator who just can't be asked to learn paid traffic because it is difficult and it does take some work, you're cooked. I literally, obviously this is an exaggeration, but I didn't feel very secure. I couldn't, sleep at night because every single time my creator, uploaded an organic piece of content, we were just praying that it would do well and that we would get leads from it. Whereas with ads, you're no longer on that hamster wheel. You sleep very, very soundly at night because you know that no matter what, as long as you're skillful in terms of how you're running the ads and the sales team is good, you're going to be making money from them. So in terms of final points for maximizing lifetime value with clients, pricing and deal structure is also very important. One thing that I've seen work super well, this is actually my client Lorenzo, who's making 18K a month at the age of 16, my licensing client Lorenzo. He actually implemented this with his client and introduced it to me, which is having a clause in the contract with your client to give them a higher revenue share if they meet organic content targets. So getting them to post more, and if they meet a certain criteria of posting, they get higher rev share on their offer and you get paid a bit less, but in the end you actually get paid more, obviously, because they're posting a lot more organic content. Also, another thing in terms of pricing and deal structure, charging a retainer and rev share also means the client will have more motivation to keep pushing on the coaching side of their business, keep posting more content, because a retainer is a fixed cost. So they'll be paying that to you no matter what. So a lot of clients we work with, we have between a $1,000 and $3,000 retainer just to make sure that that commitment is there on their end. And then also be reasonable, right? Being flexible and getting a deal across the line is very, very important. I say this about, pricing and deal structure and try and get a setup fee, but being flexible is very important because growth operating as a business model is a partnership. It's not like you're just selling something. You are going into a business partnership, and in any other business partnership, you'd expect negotiation. So one book I'd heavily recommend reading is Never Split the Difference, because that will help you with your negotiation skills. And remember, when you're on sales call with clients and you're trying to frame and position yourself correctly to have good lifetime value, don't, only stick to a fixed price, because that can really hurt a long-term relationship and lifetime value. And there are exceptions to the setup fee rule. Like I said, you can go for that method of, instead of just charging completely upfront, I don't know where I wrote it, but you say, okay, give me the first 3K of the first deal that we sign for you. And then also in terms of maintaining a strong client relationship, final points, doing weekly reports back to your client on what you're doing and what numbers are actually like in their business, if they're not really on top of it themselves, is huge, especially this one. I've got a story of a mentor that told a story of he worked with the F1 ticketing software. A lot of people know who I'm talking about. I was watching a group call recording of him, and he said that his clients there in the F1 business, like this is like a multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar industry, he was saying that they didn't really like him, although his work was really, really good when he initially started working with them, until he started sending just weekly reports saying exactly what he did that week. And then they understood, because some creators, they don't understand, the level of work that gets put in on the back end when scaling their business. So when you send weekly updates or a loom, like a 10-minute loom with the exact tasks and inputs that you and your team have done that week, they're way more likely to stay long-term and work with you long-term and obviously make you more money long-term. And in terms of moving the needle, in terms of maintaining a strong client relationship, this is probably by far the number one thing. Also, meeting your clients in person helps a ton of well. I recently recorded a podcast with Leo, this client, so you'll be seeing that soon. Meeting in person has a really positive relationship, positive benefit if you can do that. And then actually this is my client Mo, who I've met in person many times now, who is licensing my systems and is making actually a bit more than 10K a month now as a growth operator. Another good point on lifetime value, and this is more on the licensing side of things, is that I started coaching Mo to become a setter 12 months ago, and my fulfillment was really good. He hit 7K a month as a setter. Then he came out to meet me in Spain, saw me growth operating, and became a licensing client as well. And so yeah, he hit 10K a month and is going to be hitting 20K a month soon. I have a bunch of other licensing results. And so if you do want to license my agency systems, we're working with about 6 done for you clients now. My agency does about 50K a month. And if you want to consult with me one-on-one as well, there's a link in the description to an explainer video, kind of explaining things, and an application form as well for my licensing program, so that you can scale clients and have amazing lifetime value and get access to all the systems that I've got in place for that as well. So yeah, if you found this video valuable, leave a like, subscribe, drop me a comment, check out the links in the description too. Follow me on Instagram, and yeah, thank you for watching.